Welcome to Build Your Thing, the podcast where we help content creators find their unique creative voice, monetize their work, and build their tribe of loyal fans. I'm your host, Matt Giaro, and today's episode is all about how to build $1 million consulting business out of YouTube. Gareth Pronovost joins me on this episode. Gareth is a leading no-code consultant, YouTuber, and owner of Gap Consulting. His work has helped thousands of businesses optimize their workflows with no-code automation. And as mentioned, Gareth built his consulting business to a $1 million in revenue simply with YouTube. So how did the process actually look like? How did he get started? How did he validate his niche? And a lot of other questions that we are going to answer today. So I couldn't be more excited to get Gareth on the show. And with that being said, Gareth, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure. And as I just mentioned, like I stumbled across your content on YouTube, on LinkedIn. And then I saw that, like you have a lot of things going on, like free trainings and also a great YouTube channel. So I thought it would be interesting to really talk about how did you actually grow your consulting business out of YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube has been the secret sauce for us, getting off the ground, and even today produces 90% or more of our leads for our consulting business. So it's a huge tool, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it.
Wow, that's awesome. So to just put things into perspective for our listeners who don't know who you are, can you quickly introduce yourself and what you're currently up to?
Sure. So my name is Gareth Pronovost. I own a company called Gap Consulting, and we've been working in the no-code space. No-code is kind of a new way of doing software where you don't have to know how to code in order to build a customized solution that will help you streamline processes for your job or for your business. In many cases, the clients we work with are Fortune 100 companies, and we're standing up solutions for them using no-code technology. And Airtable is one of those tools that we were first known for, and it's probably still one of the biggest tools that we help to discuss and promote on our YouTube channel. And so we've been doing this for, I think, about 4.5, 5 years. We do about $1 million a year in sales currently. And this space is just growing. And so we project pretty aggressive growth over the next 5 to 10 years. So the sky's the limit right now for us.
Wow, that's awesome. First of all, congrats on those great results.
Thank you.
And
it's been fun.
Yeah. So now I really would like to dig deeper into the getting off the ground phase, if you don't mind, because I think this is a stage where a lot of people are struggling with. So
yeah.
Can we just jump into a time machine, go back 4 or 5 years before starting a YouTube channel? So what was Gareth like back then, in 4 or 5 years ago, before starting the YouTube channel? So what would actually?
Yeah, not. Look, I always had aspirations to be where I'm at today. And I always knew I had it in me to get here, but I didn't know what the path looked like. So I'm really excited to jump back and talk about that path because, like you said, I think so many people struggle with how do I get from where I am today to where I want to be, right? So my situation was not looking so good 5 years ago before this thing all started. I'd been working as a financial analyst in a company in downtown Denver. And I, like most of us, commuted to work, 5 years ago into downtown. It was tough. And I thought I was doing a really good job. I was punctual, always did my work, always got it turned in, I thought I had everything lined up. We just bought a house, my fiance and I had just proposed to her and said, let's get married in October. And I'm sorry, in July, but I asked her in September. And in October, a month after I'd proposed and we had just moved into our house, I got laid off from that job. So I had a brand new mortgage and a brand new fiance who I had to convince that I was still worth marrying. And so we had some discussions around finances and what are we going to do? And I said, look, I don't want to take just another job. I want to take a job that I want to do. And I had a job offer for more money than I was earning, but I said it's not the right fit. I don't want to just sit in a cubicle. I want to fulfill my potential. And I wasn't sure what that looked like. Like so many people, right? And so the way it worked was I stumbled across this tool called Airtable. Now remember, I was working as a financial analyst, and so I really knew Excel, and I was pretty comfortable with data. And so I thought, I Airtable seems kind of familiar. I think I can do something with this. This seems like something I can figure out. And I started playing with it and I thought, this is a really great software. It has a lot of potential. I don't think anybody knows about it. Or if they know about it, I'm sure they're getting stuck. So, how's the best way to connect with those folks? And, because I had to share my screen, because it's like, you want to work with somebody. If you had a question in a software, you want to see somebody do it, right? And it just naturally lent itself to video. I thought YouTube is the best way to talk about software and to showcase examples and illustrate what it can do or what it can't do. I didn't have any experience in this, so I watched some other YouTubers. So, this is all free information, right? Watched some other YouTubers who talked about how to record video, how to get started in YouTube. And I literally used my cell phone and a software to edit that I think cost me $200. So far my investment was practically nothing. And I put up a YouTube video. And I thought, nobody's going to see this because I don't have a channel with any following or anything like that. No one in the world is going to even know that this exists unless I make a little bit more commitment here. And so I researched how to set up a Google ad. And I started showing that video to other people who were watching YouTube for other things, right? I spent $5 a day on that ad, and I scheduled the ad to run for 10 days. I figured it's a $50 investment. I can do this. And, if it doesn't work out, what have I lost? $50. So what? On the other hand, if they do like the video or if they find this intriguing, I encouraged them to schedule a call with me. And then I set this up, and then I didn't think about it again. I went to get married. We had a destination wedding in Jamaica. So we flew out to Jamaica in July to get married. And when I got back, I had 5 scheduled calls from that ad. And from those calls, we closed 3 projects and made over $10,000. So it was the best investment. That if you include the software for editing, the $250 or thereabouts that we invested in order to get that first video up and start showing it to people paid off, better than any Bitcoin I ever bought. So it was a really great investment. And then we just realized immediately that there was huge potential. That if we booked $10,000 worth of revenue off of a week's worth of ads, well, what kind of potential is there out here? And so from there, we worked to build a consulting business, and it's the rest is history.
That's interesting. So, if I understood correctly, so the first thing, like, you just created, like your first video on your YouTube channel, and is this the same video then that you then used for your ad, or was it a different video, or like, could you walk us a little bit more behind the scenes?
Yeah. So a lot of people think that in order to get started with ads, you need to have a really polished video specifically for a call to action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people recommend that your video targets like 30 seconds to a minute if you're doing an ad video. What I did was a 10-minute tutorial, and I just put ad money behind it. So it was not a traditional ad. Instead, it was a tutorial that popped up, and I just said, "Hey, my name is Gareth, and I'm going to teach you the basics of Airtable. Let's get into it. And by the way, at the end of this video, if you have any questions, be sure to fill out my Calendly link and schedule some time to chat." And so it was not a traditional ad, and maybe that really played into the success.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly wasn't polished because my recording equipment back then wasn't very good, and I certainly didn't have good editing skills at all. And so, it was just about getting started and putting out content that people cared about. And ultimately, that led to people booking time to talk, but also subscribing to the channel and watching our videos. And then I made it a habit of putting out one video a week at a minimum.
Mhm.
And that allowed the channel to continue to grow so that eventually, and this was years later, we could stop spending that ad money and it didn't impact the organic leads that we were finding with our channel.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. So what you've done is like the same video here, and it's in front of me, right? It's getting started with Airtable, right? This one. It's the first
Right.
video on the
Yeah.
channel. 10 minutes and 8 seconds. So like how do you promote this video? Like did you use InStream, or was it just, let's say, when people were searching for Airtable, you were just like, like popping out in the search results? How did you actually what kind of campaign did you run for that?
Yeah. I did InStream, and that one is the one that produced the greatest results. And the thing with InStream, if people haven't used it before, if they don't watch 30 seconds of your video, you're not paying for them to have seen your face, right? And so, in fact, if they skip it, you're still getting some brand exposure that you don't even have to pay for, which is kind of nice.
Mhm.
But realistically, they're probably not your target market if they're skipping the video. So that's fine. You're not paying for people who don't care about what you're selling, which is perfect. And so, it was just in stream, and I set it up so that, I tried my best to target people that I thought would care about this. But, I'm not an ad specialist. So I figured, well, maybe they're in the top 20% of income earners because they're business owners, most of our target market. Maybe they are, have shown an interest in technology, so that you can use some different filters to make sure that your ad is getting shown to the right folks.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I was paying 5 cents on average per view, which if you're spending $5 a day, 5 cents per view means you can get 20 views for $1 or
Mhm.
100 views for a $5
Yeah,
investment. That's
that's
not
crazy.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good actually. So it's a lot cheaper than doing keyword SEO or keyword ads with Google, where in some cases you'll spend $5 to $10 to pop up and get a good click. So yeah, it's much cheaper and a lot more exposure to run those in-stream ads.
Like what's really interesting about this, like I'm, just, thinking about like the like how you get started. It's like, even though like you don't do the things perfectly, and like we all know like how much it's easy to get caught in the in trying to make everything perfect. It's like, if you really have a starving market, and if you really have people who are interested in what you have to offer, like you don't need to get everything 100% right. So first of all, like the first video like wasn't obviously the best one, right? That you ad targeting wasn't obviously the best one too, right? But still, like
Right.
with a simple funnel. So I just created like this video. I'm just going to show you how to get started with Airtable. And if you want to chat, and if you want to, to get things done on Airtable, just book a Calendly. And then of that, like you book 3 clients and over 10K in revenue, which is mind blowing, honestly.
Yeah, it is. I still wonder if we could ever replicate that today. It was just so perfect storm that everything came together, but it worked. And our funnel has grown in complexity over time, and our videos have improved in terms of what they offer, and our editing is better and all of this. But
Obviously.
at the end of the day, what you said is totally right, Matt. If you don't get started, then you'll never have anything. And so many people get lost in the analysis portion, where
Mhm.
they say, "Oh, I need this to be better. I need this to be better." And the biggest trick to starting a business and to being, on the road to success is to just get started.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, when you're going to when you're just starting out, you're going to do a lot of things in a non-perfect way, right? And then you just
Right.
refining and adjusting down the road. So like the crucial component here, if you really want to reverse engineer this, is that like you have been able to validate your quote unquote niche, your idea, obviously, like just with one video, right?
100%. That's 100% the right takeaway. I totally agree with you. We
That
completely validated that there was an entire business here off of a $50 ad investment.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's crazy because like my question for you, like that I've just, jotted down, so that I can ask you the question is like, how did you validate your niche? And well, here is how you validated it. It's simply creating a video, like a YouTube video, an instructional video, and then, taking people to your Calendly. And really, the interesting thing though is maybe you can walk us behind the mindset that I know a lot of creators have is, okay, let's say, um, let's just put myself in your shoes. Like, okay, I'm an Airtable consultant. Um,
Mhm.
okay, what if right now I just started to create videos, how-to videos about Airtable and how to achieve this on that? Well, then if people who are, let's say, interested in how to on how to set up this specific automation stumble across my video, like they don't need to buy my course or pay me for consulting with them. So what was your mindset behind that? So how did you, I don't know, first if you had this issue, because I know a
Mhm.
lot of creators have this issue. First, did you have it? And second, if you had it, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, this is something that I hear a lot of creators talk about is, if I put all my best work out there, then nobody's going to buy from me. And I've found nothing to be further from the truth. Because in my experience, when somebody starts watching your videos and starts to build that relationship, what you're actually getting from that is you're teaching somebody, and they're also building trust in you, right? And so, yes, for us, we had very early success. Some people booked with us and purchased, some consulting from us very early on, and it worked amazingly. But uh, most of our clients have watched our videos now for weeks, months, or even years before they reach out to us. And so by
Mhm.
the time they're ready to buy, they are they're so into what we do, and there's such a relationship built there. And the best part is, from a business perspective, I don't know that the relationship exists. I haven't had to get on the call, get on 5 calls over the last year with this potential lead in order to convert a new client. Instead, I just put out my videos every week, like I do, and I get this massive scalable outreach. And when this person's ready to buy, there's nobody else that they would buy from, because they're so into watching our videos and they're so into our process, and we've built that relationship with them that is just, as I said, so scalable. So, for anybody who's worried about that, I would say, look, maybe some people out there are going to figure it out and do it based on what you teach. But that's great. You don't need everybody in the world to pay you for your services. And in fact, I think we need to keep the right mindset here when we are going in to be coaches and consultants. Our goal is to help people who are otherwise stuck. And if we can help everybody and get paid by some of those people, then everybody wins, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of been my philosophy from the beginning.
That's a great mindset. I like that. So let me shift gear a little bit. So you've been mentioning that you um, kept on publishing one video per week. So how did you how were you able to be consistent? So when it comes to actually creating the, like, first of all, searching for the video topics and then organizing yourself. I don't know if you were scripting your videos or not, and like how did you actually manage to be consistent? Because a lot of people are struggling with being consistent.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the first concerns that I had when I started the channel is Is it possible for me to really do a video a week? I was really worried that I would run out of topics after a couple months, and then
Mhm.
I would have nothing else to talk about. And nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, we have so many new topics popping up every day. In fact, I have to like throw out topics that I just can't get to fast enough. There's new features being released in these softwares all the time. There's new softwares coming up that we want to talk about, and so there's always a new thing to come in with a new video on. But you touched upon, I think, a really hard thing, and it's the self discipline of being a business owner, especially being a small business owner that's just getting started. It's really hard to be disciplined and to show up and do all the things that you need to do. So for me, I made this the number one thing in my entire business, even above making sure that client projects were delivered on time. And thankfully, we never ran into that problem because we got the videos done and then got the projects delivered on time. But the number one thing in any week that had to happen was the video had to go out on Monday morning. And making that a priority meant that sometimes it would be Sunday night and I would still be recording or editing. Um, and that's just the unfortunate truth of being a small business owner, that
Mhm.
sometimes you have to work, over the weekend or in times that you'd otherwise prefer to be relaxing. But if you set your metrics appropriately, look, the one thing that you can control as a business owner or a content creator, the one thing you can control is what you do. You can't control your audience. You can't control their interest. You can't control how many people will actually pay you revenue this week, but you can control what you do with your time. And so make that your priority.
Yeah, that's really great advice, and I can only relate to that. So, and the interesting thing, or like let's say the trap that I've been experienced at least is, let's say, when you're committing yourself to a specific schedule. Let's say in your case it was like Monday morning. Every Monday morning a video has to go out. Well, if you skip it, if you skip, let's say, next Monday, then it's so easy to skip the next Monday and the next Monday and the next
Oh,
Monday, and
yeah.
then you're in such a loop, so that it's really hard to just stop this negative loop, and just jump back on track. So this is why sometimes you just have to edit the video at night, and just to keep things going,
Hmm.
right?
Hey, listen, I totally agree with that. And also, the videos are the engine that will drive whatever it is you're doing for your clients on the back end. So in my case, it's a consulting business and we offer courses as well. Maybe you sell courses though. Maybe you just work one-on-one with clients. So whatever that is, the YouTube channel, the videos that you produce, that's the engine that keeps people engaged with you. And if you
Mhm.
stop that, yeah, you might make $20,000 this month. Great. But if you don't have new leads coming in next month or the month after or the month after,
Mhm.
there's a good chance that you're going to see a dramatic slowdown to your income. So it's really important to be thoughtful of the fact that even though things might be great today, if you want to make sure they're great tomorrow, you've got to make sure to be, producing that content. And I really think that that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, yes, you still have to be planting seeds, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can't just focus on harvesting. You have to plant seeds for next crop. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like, what was your strategy like when it comes to your videos? So was it simply a call to action at the end? Well, if you want to know more, visit my website, or were you just focused on getting subscribers and then you flipped like the strategy later down the road? So what is your take on that?
Yeah, great question. So, in the early days, I didn't really give a lot of thought to the strategy, unfortunately. And so, it was only at the very end of the video that I said, hey, if you want to learn more, come visit my website. And on my website, I literally had just a landing page in those days. And the landing page was book a call, book a call, book a call, right? So, there's the only action you could take from that landing page was get on my Calendly, let's talk, and then I'll tell you if you've got a project that I can help you with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those were the early days. And again, the only time I put out a call to action was the very end of the video. Now, I've gotten more sophisticated over time. So what I do now is I actually make that call to action at the beginning of the video and a reminder at the end of the video. Because most people, when they get to the end of a video, just click off and go watch something else. So that's why I want to put that call to action up front. And it's really improved conversion rates. And the other thing I do is I use every piece of real estate that YouTube gives me. So they'll allow you to pin a comment inside of the comments. I do that, right? I always pin my own comment, which is pointing to the call to action. I go into the description of the video and I make sure to put my call to action in the description as well, so that people can go there. So, it's evolved over time, and there are multiple places for somebody to take advantage of that call to action. But it's really important that I think it's important that you start including that call to action up front as well. And I see a lot of YouTubers talking about, bringing in ad revenue and advertising
Mm-hmm.
on their videos, which is great. Don't get me wrong, and we do that, and we earn in the grand scheme of things, I think we earn $15,000 a year in
Mm-hmm.
ad revenue from YouTube. So it's not our core business, right? But it's a nice little bonus. Although I think it's far more important to think about the importance of being your own advocate in your videos, not just advertising somebody else's stuff, of which you'll make 2 or 3 cents per view, right?
Yeah.
Don't make that your priority. Make your own funnel, your own call to action, your biggest priority.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly also what I teach in my 7 free uh, email bootcamp that you can get. Like, I'm going to leave the link in the description for those who are interested, where I say, well, like, you could rely on what I call this lazy platform money. Just toggle on ads, and then you're going to make money, right? Most people think that this is how you actually make a living as a creator, but this is not true. Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but let's say the vast majority of creators, like, you don't really make significant money just with let's say Google paying you 2 or 3 cents for adding just an ad in before your video. So you definitely have to think about a strategy to actually monetize your business with your own stuff. So may it be consulting, may it be courses, may it be something else, right? There are myriad of things that you could do to actually monetize your skills. So
Yeah. You bring up a
so
good point.
yes,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
please go ahead. No.
Oh, I was going to say the good point you bring up is, most creators don't have millions of followers or millions of viewers. We've been doing this for 5 years, and we have 3.5 million views on our channel, but only 20,000 subscribers. So if if I'm capable of running $1 million a year business off of 20,000 subscribers, it doesn't matter how big your audience is. If you're using these tactics that we've talked about. If, on the other hand, you're going for advertising revenue, then you need millions of subscribers and billions of views in order to make a dent, right? It's just a numbers game.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there are some niches, let's say like yours, like you won't find, let's say, millions of people who are interested in learning how to use Airtable, right? It's just like the way it is.
Yeah, I wish everybody in the world cared about it, but they don't. So 20,000 subscribers is great for me. Yeah.
I mean, and you've certainly doing things have been doing things very well. So let's just talk a little bit about the process that you have for your videos. So how like, do you have, let's say, any, as an automation guy, like, do you have any automations when it comes to creating your videos, creating your thumbnails, getting your videos up on YouTube? Like, is there any process behind it?
I have experimented with automation on all of these things, and I am sad to say that a machine never did it as well as a human. So we have removed the automation. So you can create thumbnails for your videos based on automation. And we did that for a number of years, but they were never as well received as the ones that we created manually. And
Okay.
that's probably just because there's a human touch needed, right? You move something over just a little bit on the thumbnail and it just looks and feels better and in a way that you can't really describe to a computer, right?
Yeah.
So thumbnails are done manually, editing is done manually. Uh, the only thing that we track, I mean, all of our content is cultivated in a library that we keep in an Airtable database. And so we can call upon any of those videos at any point in time if people have questions or ask to reference a video. So that's really helpful. But in terms of publishing and all of that, it's all done manually. I signed up for TubeBuddy, which I'm sure you've heard about. It kind of helps you make sure that you've optimized your video before publishing.
Hmm.
So I use that to verify that everything is set up properly. But otherwise, there's really no other part to it. The thing you asked about earlier, in terms of scripting the video, I don't do that at all. And this actually allows me to be much more agile when I'm producing content. What I do is I establish a topic and I come up with three to five major bullet points that I want to cover. And then I just talk naturally about them. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my whole process for doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's interesting, and I guess I spotted out the videos where you use the some software in order to automate the thumbnails. Right, it was maybe 1 year ago when you have like this Airtable tutorial, etc., etc. So yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
you can see actually human touch with those automatically generated thumbnails. So yeah, this is like kind of yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing that you learn though as you progress as a content creator. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You have to give yourself permission to not be perfect, right?
Mhm.
You have to
Yeah.
accept that even today, I'm very proud of the content we publish today. I'm sure in a year from now, I'll think, oh man, I was doing that thing wrong. And I just didn't know,
Mhm.
right? So you'll get better over
Yeah.
time. And that's just the nature of it.
Awesome, awesome. So, Gareth, like with all the experience that you have today, like, is there anything that you would have done differently looking back?
Well, I wish that we had started growing our consulting practice more intentionally. In the early days, I was very focused on making as much passive income as possible. So I was working with clients one on one, but I really wanted to jump into creating a course very
Mm.
quickly. And I polled my audience. At the time, I didn't even have a lead magnet, so my email list was 100 people long, and I wanted to know if they wanted to buy a course. And I got some really good feedback from them, in fact. And the feedback was, yes, please buy this course, or we would be interested in buying your course, and this is what we want to learn about. So I built that course, but I wish that I'd focused more on building and scaling the consulting piece of things, because that has predominantly been the core of our business over time. So
So,
it is still the majority of our revenue even today.
so when it comes to more tactical kind of advice, like would you have um, postponed, let's say, the creation of an online course and just heavily, let's say, promoting your consulting business? Like, is that what you
Exactly.
were saying? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Just to put that into perspective, on any given month, we'll do, north of $100,000 in revenue, and, maybe 8 to 10,000 of that comes from courses, and the remainder comes from consulting.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, there's just no reason, in hindsight, there was no reason for me to focus so much on that course. It's a small piece of the overall puzzle. Um, I have no regrets. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad for the journey, and I appreciate all the lessons.
Mhm.
But I really was just enamored by this idea of creating passive income, and ultimately, I don't think that it is the reality for consultants the same way it might be for other industries.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I have a whole rant about passive income, but maybe we'll keep that for another day. Um, just Gareth, I just wanted to know a little bit more about like how does your consulting actually look like? Are you, let's say, do you have, let's say, a monthly retainer, or do people just, who work with you, they work with you on shot, let's say, and setting up an automation and forget about it, or how does that look like?
So a little bit from both of those options. Sometimes people will call up and they say, "Hey, look, I've been using Airtable or I've been using Zapier or whatever tool, right? I've been using it for a while and I know my way around and I got a whole thing built already, but I'm stuck on this problem. I'm stuck here. I have a broken automation. I can't figure out a formula. I need help, and it's going to be quick and easy." So for that, we go to our hourly consultants. And so people who are interested in that, they can just book an hour with our team of consultants who are make certain times in their day available, and they show up in Zoom. They discuss the problem, and they fix it there in a live call. Sometimes it might take a second or third hour to be scheduled, but for the most part, these are relatively short fixes, right? So you're working one on one, looking over this person's shoulder as they fix the solution for you. But that's a small portion of our revenue. The majority of our consulting engagements are more of an ongoing endeavor. So this starts with somebody filling out an application to work with us. We then vet the application to make sure that they're a good fit, hop on a discovery call, get an understanding of what they're trying to build, and then tell them, roughly what we think that's going to look like. So we're either delivering that in, like a monthly hour of buckets. I'm sorry, a monthly bucket of hours. So we'll say this project will probably take, 40 hours worth of effort. We can, what do you want to commit to? 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week? Like, how quickly do you want us to get this done? And then we'll provide a quote on that. Or, we might also take a more agile approach and say, hey, we're going to tackle, this part of the project and we'll get that done. It's going to cost X. Once that's done, let us know if you're ready to move forward. And then we'll tackle the next part of the project and it's going to cost Y. So there's a number of different ways that we can approach that, but ultimately we're working more hands-on with the client. But when we're doing a more lengthy engagement, which is the majority of our client work, it's not as hands-on. It's like we meet with the clients a couple times, and there's a lot of work for our team to do behind the scenes before we meet again.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Anything you want to add, Gareth? Like, I've been really enjoying the chat and actually picking your brain and actually trying to deconstruct a little bit, like how you went from zero to hero. So is there anything that you want to add at the end of this call?
I mean, listen, for me, I was sitting on the other side of this, listening to podcasts like this for years before actually making the leap. And for me, it required that I got laid off. And I wish I'd started sooner. So if you are the type of person who's listening to this and you're saying, I think I have what it takes to do this, maybe not in Airtable, but in a different software, or maybe it is in Airtable. In either case, just get started. Just make the leap. And, I wish that I could have started a long time ago now in hindsight, because I feel like I could be so much further along this journey. But instead, I was enamored by the idea of keeping my paycheck, which I thought it was so safe. And it turns out that, in fact, it wasn't safe at all. And one of my friends told me later, he's an advisor for many startups, and he said, the funny thing is, you think that you're safe when you have a paycheck, but when you work with clients, one of your clients can fire you, and what? So what? You go find another client. You lose a portion of your revenue. But if your paycheck fires you, if your job fires you, and you have all your eggs in that basket, you've got to scramble to find something. And so, in fact, it's kind of a backwards thinking. We have a lot more security when we control our own destinies and we're not beholden to an employer.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Gareth. So I'm obviously going to include the show notes the links in the show notes, like to your webinar registration and also on your build to scale project. Like, you didn't talk about that. So would you want us to dig deeper into that?
Well, yeah, let's just talk really quickly about it. Built to Scale is my new initiative to teach people how we followed this path to get Gap to 1 million a year from zero in just a matter of a few years. So if you're interested in any of this, I would say just check out our YouTube channel. Find us on YouTube. Look me up, Gareth Pronovost. I should pop up pretty quickly. Look up Airtable. You'll definitely find us there too. And we're going to start producing a lot more content around how to consult and how to build your consulting practice. So if that's something that interests any of your listeners, we'd love to have them along for the ride. And my goal is to make as many people financially independent as possible while still serving the overall market, because there's such a need for no-code consultants. It's what's going to be coming down over the next 10, 20 years. Everybody's going to need a no-code consultant that they can rely on to run their business, just as we have historically, hired marketing consultants or email consultants or all of these different things. This is the future. So get on now if you're interested.
All right, Gareth, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to having you on the show, and wishing you all the best in your future ventures.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so I hope that you've enjoyed this episode with Gareth Pronovost. And as you just saw, you don't need a huge following in order to make a living online, right? So this is the thing that I have been preaching for years, and probably will also going to continue to preach for the years to come. So if you want to actually start building your business as a creator, you need to get the process right. You need to understand what to do and what not to do, right? You need to get the mindset right. There are a lot of different things that you need to get right. And if you want to learn what it needs to actually build a successful business as a creator without having millions of followers, then you should definitely sign up for my free content creator bootcamp. I'm going to leave the link in the description. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope to see you in just a few minutes inside your inbox.